Hi, my name is Sue, and I'm from the Ohio Energy Project, and we would like to welcome you to the Energy Education video series that we're doing in partnership with American Municipal Power for schools in their member school district communities. So how is this going to work? Below the videos on this webpage, you'll see a form. It has your contact information. You can fill that out, and we'll send you the supplies that you need to do the two different activities. Also, you'll find links to the different scripts that we'll be using to facilitate the activities, as well as different handouts and student worksheets that you can use. Those worksheets are both in Word and Google Docs, so you can tailor them to specifically meet the needs for your students in your own classroom. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We would also like to encourage Ohio teachers to take full advantage of OEP's other activities as far as professional development workshops and student programs. Thanks for your commitment to energy education. Now let's get started. In this activity, we're going to be talking about electricity. We designed this activity to be done with elementary students. However, on the website, there are some links to extension activities that could be done with middle school students. Also, we designed this activity to be done with small groups. Unfortunately, we're filming this during 2020 in the middle of the pandemic. So we're also going to show you some modifications you make to do this as a teacher demonstration, or that you could use if you were doing videos for online learning. So what do you need? OEP will send you 2 energy batons as part of the supplies. Also, there's a student worksheet for you to use that has a list of different insulators and conductors. These are materials that you will have around your classroom or at home. So you'll need to assemble those, and then we'll be ready to begin. In Ohio, electricity is first introduced in the 4th grade. Unfortunately, when we talk about electricity, we need to talk about electrons, and atoms aren't introduced until middle school. So we introduce the concept of the parts of an atom and a nucleus at a very high level. So I'm going to refer to the handout that it has a diagram of an atom that includes the nucleus, which contains the protons and neutrons, and then the electrons that orbit around the nucleus. When we start talking about electricity, what we're concerned about is the electrons. The simplest definition of electricity is moving electrons. Electricity travels in a path or a loop that we call a circuit. Now, circuits can be open and closed. For this activity, we're going to be using the energy baton to talk about circuits. Now, there's a handout that describes a little bit of the science of the energy baton, but the basics are, it has a battery that's connected to some LED lights and a buzzer. Right now, the energy baton circuit is open because the lights aren't on and you can't hear any sound. However, when I close the circuit, you'll notice that there's sound produced and the lights are flashing. Now, right now my circuit is closed. I can open my circuit simply by taking one hand off. My hand is acting like a switch, so I can close the circuit and open the circuit. You can compare this to the light switch on your wall, where you're opening and closing the circuit and turning the lights on and off. Now, I can be a circuit, but I can also do this within a small group, and we can have multiple people within a circuit. So I'm going to ask Shawnee to come in. So what we need to do to complete our circuit is she's going to take one end, I'm going to take the other end. Now, to close our circuit, we need to touch fingers or hands. So right now we've closed our circuit, and then we can act as a switch and open our circuit. We can close it and open it. Thanks, Shawnee. So you can have one person using the energy baton, you can have a group of 2, you can have a small group, or you can have a whole class or grade level of as many as 50 students using the energy baton. The larger the group, however, you might have to, instead of just touching fingers, you might have to hold hands. So this is something that you might want to consider given our current social distancing standards. You can also use the energy baton to teach electricity, insulators, and conductors. Now, when we're talking about electricity, a conductor is any material that easily allows the electrons to flow. An insulator, on the other hand, would be something that resists the flow of electrons. So I'm going to refer you to the student worksheet. And on the student worksheet, you'll notice that down the middle are a different list of the different items from your classroom. On the left side of the page, it gives the students the opportunity to make a hypothesis about each item. So allow your students some time before they start testing to determine whether each item is an insulator or a conductor. Then we're going to begin testing some of the items. Now, I'm also going to show you this in two different ways. One with a partner, and one if you are doing this as a demonstration or as an online video. So I'm going to ask Shawnee to come back in, and we're going to test a couple items. The first one that we're going to test is the straw. So we're going to do like we did before with the circuit and each hold one end, but instead of touching fingers, we're each going to hold one end of the straw. All right, so do we think that this is an insulator or a conductor? We'll make our hypothesis.
I think it's an insulator.
An insulator, all right. So did our circuit complete? Nope, we don't have any lights or sound. So our plastic straw is an insulator. All right, the next one that we're gonna do is water. So we're actually gonna switch our hands that the baton is holding. The same thing with this. Now we're just gonna stick one finger in the water. We want to go straight in so that we're not touching the side of the glass and we're not touching fingers as we dip it in. So do we think this is an insulator or a conductor?
I think it's a conductor.
All right, so let's try. All right, so as you can see, when we have our fingers in the water, our circuit is complete. So water is a conductor. Thanks, Shawnee. All right, so I mentioned this can be done as a small group, but if our current circumstances don't allow that, you can demonstrate this to your entire class, or you could also facilitate this in online learning if you're distance learning next school year. So the way you would do that is you're gonna hold one end, and then you're gonna take your different materials. So I'm gonna start with a metal spoon, and you're just gonna touch the other end of the baton. So I'm gonna take my metal spoon, and you can see that the metal spoon is a conductor. And then we're going to try a plastic spoon. And with our plastic spoon, we touch the end. Plastic spoon is an insulator because electricity is not flowing through that complete path. Now, the one item that you can't test is the water. You don't want to be dipping the end of the baton in your water sample. So don't do that one unless you have a partner. So after you test all the items on the list, it would be great if students can go around the room and test some different items in your classroom. Let them be creative in what they identify as things they want to test as insulators and conductors. So the last two questions on the worksheet allow students to apply their new knowledge about electricity, insulators, and conductors and put it into practice when they're thinking about electric safety. So the first question asks why students have to get out of a pool during an electric storm. Well, we learned that water is an excellent conductor. The second question talks about the line workers in your community and why they wear rubber gloves and sleeves and boots when they're working on the poles in your neighborhood. That's because rubber is an excellent insulator and they use it as a means to protect themselves. Frequently asked questions. How long do the batons last? With normal classroom use, you can probably get a couple years out of them. You want to take care not to drop them on the floor, and also when you pack them away, make sure that the two ends aren't together or they also aren't in your bag of conductors. Can I replace the battery? The way that the batons are put together is that the wires are welded to the battery, so there's no way to take them out and exchange them. However, you can find replacement batons online for under $10. What if I know my baton is working, but I have a student that can't light it up? The way the baton works is that the electrons travel across the moisture on your skin. So if you have someone that has really dry hands or it's extremely low humidity, there might not be enough moisture for the electrons to flow. So what you would just need to do is take a spray bottle and spray a little bit of water on their hands, have them rub together, and then try the baton again. It should light up. Here's how you could take this a little bit further. Contact your local utility department and ask them if they would be willing to send one of their line workers to your school to talk about the things that they do for electric safety when they're out working. This might be they let your students try on some of their gear. Maybe they'll even bring a bucket truck to your school and show you some of the equipment that they use. For the energy baton, the energy source is a battery. You could also contact the electric division and ask them what different energy sources are used to generate the electricity that comes to your students' homes and your school building. Natural gas, coal, and nuclear energy are the most common, but AMP has a strong commitment to their renewable energy portfolio. So ask them if they're using solar, wind, or hydropower as well.